Every once in a while, a movie comes along with the ingredients to make something truly memorable. And this is one of those movies. It has spaceships, romance, ray guns, skeletons, and whatever the hell this is supposed to be. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the program. And on this episode, I'm going to be talking about a cult classic that has lived on in infamy ever since it was released in 1959. It's Teenagers from Outer Space. Now, I, for one, love this poster because everything on it actually happens in the movie. And it also features my favorite thing about this movie, the skeletons. There are a lot of skeletons in this movie, and they do not disappoint. The movie starts with a spaceship landing in, the middle of nowhere. And by the time it lands, based on the scale here, it looks like that is one tiny spaceship. But I guess it's actually pretty big, somehow. Okay. The top opens, and oh my god, it must be an alien, because it's wearing stuff that we've never seen on Earth before. Seriously, this must be some kind of alien masking tape. The alien takes out a ray gun and totally disintegrates this little dog. Okay, first things first, this is not how you make friends. This is very rude. When you go to a new planet, you don't just start killing things right off the bat. You ask first. That's just basic manners. So the alien takes off the helmet and looks just like a regular guy. And I have to say, if you can take off a space helmet and have your hair looking like that, I am impressed. I mean, I imagine he's been wearing that helmet for a pretty long time. So keeping the hair perfect, that's the real marvel of technology here. The spaceship, the ray gun, those easily pale in comparison. So the other aliens come out of the ship, and it's amazing. Believe it or not, some of their alien technology is the exact same as ours. Well, I hope you're all enjoying yourselves, because this is some classic sci-fi right here. It doesn't get much better than this. This is the peak. This is the most sci-fi that sci has ever fied. You've got an alien invasion with alien spacesuits, alien technology, and alien names like Thor and Derek. So then Derek finds the dog tag from the skeleton, and he's like, wait a minute, there's intelligent life on this planet. I mean, look, this piece of metal has writing on it, and it's in English, the language that we just so happen to speak. You're probably wondering what the aliens are even doing on Earth. Well, they are looking for a place to grow their Gargons. Gargons are a monster that they like to eat, so basically they're looking for a farm. Derek takes out his gun and he's like, all right, we're leaving. We are not growing our Gargons here and disturbing these people. And another thing, I don't like how things are being run in our society, and I want things to change.
We live like parts of a machine. We don't know our fathers or mothers were raised in cubicles. The sick and the old are put to death.
It is the one and only way to maintain the supreme race. Have you forgotten that?
Our people have forgotten, but I have learned how it once was. There was happiness. There was love.
Of what do you speak? From where have you learned such things?
I have read. I have read from this book.
Quite honestly, the idea that none of this came up before is the most unrealistic thing here. I mean, they had this entire trip in a spaceship to chat about stuff, and now suddenly they're like, whoa, we had no idea this guy felt so strongly about this stuff. I mean, come on, we all have that one friend who tries to make everything political, and they are not quiet about it.
When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture and death for this treason.
The High Court may judge me after we have accomplished our mission.
Hey, guys, I'm sorry, but I didn't pack a lunch for the trip because I thought we were going to stop at a place along the way, but we didn't. So I am starving. So when you guys are done, bitching at each other, can we please get something to eat? Really, it doesn't even have to be anything big. I'll take anything at this point. Even just a donut or a croissant. Hey, do you think they have croissants here? Or is that more of just a Venus thing? I don't know.
Let me see that book. I am interested to see what sways your mind so heavily.
You may have it.
Oh my god, you fell for the old let me see that book trick? It's like the oldest trick in the book. What did you think was going to happen? He was going to open it up and start reading it right then and there and be like, oh, yeah, all this makes sense now. You've completely changed my mind on everything. So it turns out they brought a Gargon with them to see how fast it grows on Earth.
Soon this planet will be covered with full-grown Gargons. A safe distance from our planet, yet their meat will be available to us for the harvesting.
And then we'll have Gargon meat for the rest of our lives. Can you imagine that? Gargon for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We'll never need to set foot inside of a Red Gargon restaurant ever again. Except I do like their cheddar biscuits. You know the ones I'm talking about, the cheddar biscuits at Red Gargon. Sometimes I try to make those at home, but it's just not the same, you know? So, yeah. I'd probably go back just for those. Turns out that the atmosphere has too much nitrogen or something, so they can't bring the Gargons here. So they start packing up their equipment to go off and try another planet. Then they tell Derek to lie down on the ground while they go get the straps to strap him up. And this is when Derek is like, screw this, I'm just gonna run away. Well, it turns out that the Gargon is now thriving. Okay, so they're like, let's put the Gargon inside of that cave, and then we'll come back later and see how big it's gotten. I'm sure nothing will go wrong with that plan. So the captain talks to the leader of the aliens, who tells him that Derek is his son, a secret that even Derek doesn't know, and that he could put this whole mission in danger if he talks to Earthlings. So the captain should send Thor to find Derek. And really, how far could he have gotten? I mean, you're in the middle of nowhere. Just send somebody to chase after him right away. It's not like he got lost in a crowd or a parade. And hell, you got a spaceship. Just launch that thing into the air. Oh, look, there he is right there. So Derek somehow manages to get into town on foot, which is strange because while Thor is walking, a guy pulls over and says,
Hop in, I'll give you a lift.
Lift?
Well, it's a long way into town.
So if a guy who's driving says it's a long way into town, then how did Derek get there so fast? It's not like he had a 2-hour-long head start. Derek goes to the address that's listed on the dog tag, and Betty, who lives there with her grandfather, is like, what the hell? It's been 20 minutes and Sparky still hasn't eaten his breakfast. I don't know where that dog is. Well, Betty, you don't even have a fence around the property or a leash on the dog, so you let the dog loose to roam the streets. Things are gonna happen. And things did happen, Betty. You want to know where your dog is? Well, I'll tell you where your dog is. Your dog is out in the middle of nowhere. And it's a skeleton. Yeah. And whose fault is that? Yours. Okay, well, actually, it's Thor's because he's the one that shot the dog. But still, Betty introduces Derek to her grandfather, but Derek is too creeped out by his missing finger to shake his hand. Thor gets into town, and the gas station attendant tells him where Derek went, and this is where Thor gets trigger happy, killing the attendant and the guy who gave him a ride. And again, this is just incredibly rude. You're just gonna leave the skeletons there on the ground? Oh, I guess someone else is gonna clean that up? I've said it before and I'll say it again. This is why you can't do anything nice for anyone. Because you give an inch, they take a mile. This guy offered up the information of where to find Derek, and what does he get? Zapped. The driver picked him up and asked for nothing in return, and what happens to him? Zapped and gets his car stolen. See, this is why I'll never be an Uber driver. What recourse does he have? He's dead. He can't even give the guy a bad passenger rating. So Betty and Derek go to see Betty's friend Alice at her parents' mansion.
Derek! Hey, I like that. Come on in, the water's fine.
Well, we need a pair of swim trunks. I couldn't find any at my house.
No problem at all. He can wear a pair of my father's.
Okay, I'm telling you right now, if I was in this situation, I am either going into the pool with my underwear or nothing at all. I am not wearing her dad's swim trunks. No, I don't care if they don't have any of that, netting on the inside. No way, I'm still not doing it. Have you seen pictures of swim trunks from the 50s? Most of them seem pretty tight. Like they're getting up there in every crevice. Just not a shareable piece of clothing, in my opinion, I would much rather go into that pool fully nude. And why not, Let's get this party started. Alice seems like she might be into it. Anyways, Derek gives Betty the dog tag. I'm not exactly sure why he's doing all of this. I mean, what's the point? What's he gonna say? Oh, hi, I'm an alien from another planet, and one of my friends vaporized your dog with a ray gun. So, sorry about that, but I brought you the dog tag back. Seems pretty ridiculous, right? Well, that's basically what he does.
When I first arrived, I was with some others. One of them destroyed a small creature. Later, I found that among the remains.
So Derek takes Betty back to the spot where Thor killed Sparky. I have no idea how he would know how to get back to that exact spot, but whatever. Betty is like, nah, this can't be Sparky. Look at how old these bones are. And Derek is like, God damn it, Betty, your dog is dead. And by the way, Betty doesn't seem to be very, I don't know, cautious when it comes to this guy at all. I mean, this guy came out of nowhere, says he's from a faraway place, and that the people he came here with killed her dog. And she's just like, yeah, I don't know, something about this guy just gives me butterflies. You know what that is? That's your gut instinct telling you that something is very off. And not off as in, oh, he's unlike anyone I've ever met. No, off as in not good. Very high possibility of being completely deranged.
I don't care where you're from. I don't understand all this, but somehow I feel that I've always known you.
So Thor just walks into Alice's backyard, and after some back and forth, she threatens to call the police, and guess what happens to her? Yep, skeleton in the pool. Does nobody have a fence in this entire town? See, this is another reason why it's a good idea to get a fence. Keeps dogs in, keeps creepos out. And you gotta sell that house now. I could never go back to fully enjoying that pool knowing that someone was disintegrated in it. Even if you change the water, it doesn't matter. It's got a bad vibe now. If you go to a pool party and find out that someone had been murdered in that pool, I mean, come on. Are you rushing to jump in and start up a game of volleyball? Yeah, I didn't think so. So Betty and Derek head over to the college to talk to Professor Simpson about the disintegrator gun Thor is using. Again, Betty is just going along with all of this. None of this seems ridiculous to her, but Thor gets to him first, and it's skeleton time. Now, if you're confused about all of this, don't feel bad. It's pretty nonsensical. The whole thing. Instead of leaving the office through the way he came in, Thor goes out the window because, I don't know.
Oh, Derek!
Oh, it's some kind of foolish joke. I'm not going to keep a job where this sort of thing goes on.
I think I would love to work in an environment like this. I mean, seriously, imagine if your boss was playing pranks like this all the time. It'd be hilarious. I'd be excited to go to work.
For some reason, they want to stop me. Somehow we were traced here. I want you to get in your vehicle and go to a place where you will be safe.
Waffle House. Basically the safest place you can go, especially at night. Nothing bad ever happens at the Waffle House.
I want you to go somewhere else where you will be safe.
We're safer than the city hall. The police said they're going to have armed guards waiting for us on the front steps. I told them we'd be right there. Let's hurry.
Okay, so they're gonna have armed guards at City Hall? What exactly did Betty tell them? That there's some guy coming with a ray gun? Does anybody have a skeptical bone in their body in this entire town?
You think the tip might have been a phony, Mac?
Don't think so, Harry. The girl who called seemed to know what she was talking about.
Yeah, and that's the thing. She doesn't really know what she's talking about. She doesn't know what's going on. All she knows is that this guy is telling her that some other guy is trying to vaporize him with a ray gun. I guess by coincidence, Thor sees Betty and Derek at the exact same time that they're driving to City Hall, and here's where the fun begins. So whenever I watch these movies, I like to turn on the subtitles, and this movie has subtitles that make this scene even funnier than it already is. I guess after getting shot, Thor manages to escape, and nobody knows where he went, so they all run off to find him. But then Betty goes over to the car, and Thor is inside. Wow, I guess nobody saw him get into the car that was parked right in front of the building. So he's like, take me to a doctor to get these bullets out of me or I'll zap you. And they're like, all right, fine. They get to the doctor, who starts operating on him while Thor keeps the gun pointed at them. Finally, he starts passing out, and the next thing he knows, they've all escaped. What the hell? Why didn't you just grab the gun and disintegrate him? Problem solved! Then the only thing you gotta worry about is just getting rid of the skeleton. And that shouldn't be very hard, just throw it out on the curb. There's a bunch of them lying around town anyways, no one's gonna bat an eye. They get into the car, and for some stupid reason, they sit there and chat for a while about how Derek is the son of the alien leader.
Derek, what was he talking about? The Gargon to be raised here, and you, the son of the leader. You said you didn't know your father.
I did not know the things he said. I wanted to forget them forever, but now I know. They plan to return.
I like how the doctor is just sitting there listening to all of this. I mean, after everything that has just gone on, are you not going to ask, what the hell is going on? Are you not curious? So Thor is now out driving around, and he crashes the car but manages to survive. Derek finds the disintegrator gun at the crash site, and oh no, it's the Gargon, or at least the shadow of the Gargon, and it's huge now. And oh no, the gun doesn't work, and it's the only way to kill this thing. So he throws a rock at it, which is actually surprisingly effective. And look, this movie was made in the 50s, super low budget, I get it. But even still, this is pretty bad. I mean, we're getting shadow puppets at this point. So Derek is like, hey, the power lines. Maybe if I can cut them and attach them to the gun, it will provide enough power for the gun to work. So Derek climbs up to cut the wires while Betty calls the electrical generating plant.
Please listen to me. You must do as I say. The monster is coming towards the town. I'm at North Ridge Road. We have a weapon here that might be able to stop it if we can connect it to the power lines.
Who is this? I'll have to check with...
You have to believe me. There's no time to check with anybody.
Now, just for a second, imagine you worked there, and someone called you on the phone telling you that you gotta shut off the power because there's a monster coming, and they need to cut the power lines and connect them to a weapon to destroy it. Do you think it would be a smart idea to listen to this person? Well, this guy does. He's like, yeah, sure, right away.
Hello? Turn the power back on.
Okay.
It is not enough! It is not enough power!
Can you boost the power any? Please, it's not enough.
I'll try to speed up the generators.
If only there were more power, Betty!
Is there any way to generate more power? We've got to have more.
I can join in more circuits, but it may blow up the line.
Try anything. It's our only chance.
Just try and picture this guy explaining all of this to his boss the next day. I mean, what else was I supposed to do? Ask you for permission? The person on the phone said there wasn't any time and that the monster was getting closer. How can I argue with that? So this actually works, and the Gargon is now dead. I mean, can't you tell? Look at how realistic this all is. So now the rest of the aliens have arrived with ships filled with hundreds of Gargons to raise on Earth.
You are my father?
I am. I was most disappointed to learn that you had deserted. I came this trip hoping I would find you had returned.
See, that's how you know he's the leader. Not because of the cape, but because he's got the 3 masking tape stripes. That must be like gold to them back on their planet. This guy's probably sitting on a stockpile of it back at home. He doesn't give a shit. He'll make it rain any kind. Masking, packing, scotch. So Derek pretends to apologize for reading that book he mentioned earlier.
I am not the only one who had that book, Father.
Yes, I know. And you will help in tracking down others who may have such books.
But it's all a ruse. Derek loves that book, and he also loves this planet. So much so that he tells the other spaceships to increase their speed so that they crash and all the aliens die. And that's exactly what happens. And all that's left is his face in the sky. The end. Well, I think it's very clear what this movie is really about. It's about the dangers of books. I mean, just look at what happened. One book caused this guy to kill himself, his father, a bunch of other aliens, and he destroyed the possibility of having an insane amount of lobster meat readily accessible for the rest of time as we know it. And that is completely unforgivable. Now, this movie was made by Tom Graff, who was actually in the movie playing the character of Tom the Reporter. So after this movie came out, it did pretty poorly. Apparently, Tom suffered a mental breakdown, disappeared from Hollywood for a few years, and tragically committed suicide in 1970. Now, in 1987, this movie actually entered the public domain, two of my favorite words, so you can go and watch this movie for free in its entirety. But that's pretty much it for this one. As usual, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all next time. And one more thing, please, guys, get your farts out now before we get back on the ship, please. Just get it all out now, because there is not a lot of space on that ship, and I don't know what you guys ate before we left, but one of you, I'm not going to say who, but it was like ass blast after ass blast, and it was so rancid, I swear to God. If I had packed a lunch, I would have thrown it up. Box of raisins, apple, some chewing gum. I'd even settle for that. You know, just give my brain the illusion that I'm eating something. This tape keeps coming off. This is brutal. This is a hard one. This tape does not stick as well as I thought it would stick. Okay, here we go.